This is day number 296 of the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi. Today's Arukh HaShulchan Yomi is being sponsored by Rav John Abraham for the schus of Refuah Shlema for his mother, Chana Fego Basienta. They should have Refuah Shlema very speedily. If you would like to sponsor an upcoming Shir or more of Arukh HaShulchan Yomi, please contact me directly. It would be very greatly appreciated. We are today doing Simon Reish Hey, Sif Beis, the Simon Reish Vav, Sif Beis. Beis. So we are talking about the idea of the separation of brachas and why we don't differentiation brachas. Why we don't differentiate even more than we do, such as Yehuda this did with Borei what was it again? Borei Mine Deshoy. Yes. So Beis. Here it's not comparable to that which it says Baruch Hashem Yom Yom Chol Yom Tein Mein Berchosav. Why? If you look in a year, if you make a bari p'adam avi gankim chom bin mein berchosav, it still gives each type its own bracha, a proper bracha. The fruit of the tree by its in its own category p'adam and the fruit of the ground in its own category b'shar dvarim and other things in their own categories. So it does categorize both memai chol g'zorim midashoyim li'adama, and furthermore, what is the difference between seeds and grasses? Things which grow by seeds, things which grow as grasses in terms of the ground. Manavshach. Whatever you look at it. So if we're going to make the bracha on grasses, let's make a bracha on seeds. He creates a species of seeds. Okay, there is a tosef that says that way. The Shoim Omer Baruch Minei Shoim. Vayirokos and on vegetables Boy Priadam. Ayin Shom. Ava Mishnah the Motzin Rak the Shoim Miklal Ha'adama Shapir Paskina De La Kreb Yehuda. But in the Mishnah that which they wanted to differentiate between the Rabbi Yehuda wanted to differentiate between Hadama and the Shoim, we pass in the Lachas Nada Krabila Bacha Kaimulan, and that is the firm Sak V'Chalila V'Chas the Pakbek was there, and it's Chas to show him to doubt this. I guess there were some doubters sometimes in Arukh HaShulchan, which is kind of surprising. I don't know why somebody would make a big deal of it. Well, he says in brackets, Ain Shem Mugbal Bazeh. So this is no definitive name as to what is considered to be a grass. Yerushalmi so perket Chilayim Tanya Shifon Vachitin Vagemi V'Shar Kol Gdenim Be'efer Minei Dushoim. We find that rye and wheat and gemi is I don't remember exactly what gemi is. I think it's hemp, and all sorts of things which grow. I'm not sure it's efer means in ashes or it means afar in fields. But anyway, that their grasses are in sham. So you find that the wheat and the rye, which are types of which is a type of barley, are included in grasses. So grasses is a very not defined term. And he brings this Braya Brub and Behag Reshberg Ketzizra and Mevarkin Shevi Drasha Zu. I don't know what Drasha he's referring to. I guess he's bringing to Drasha Tainlo B'Choyom Mirim B'Choysav, and nevertheless he basks like a boy Priyadam and everything. Kimel, Klodi Rakos Kenu. This is the general principle of vegetables. Any type of vegetable that the custom is to eat it, both raw and cooked, being kabush or pickled. The Barchalam Ba'adam make Adam ben Shochlok Shulchai, whether eating when it's raw ben Shochlok Shimbushal, or if eating when it's cooked or kavush or pickled, soaked. But is true also about any fruit and any legumes. They're good when they're both raw and cooked. Their bracha is always the same, whether it's before or after the cooking. And raw beans, which are dry, arbes like chickpeas, babes, whatever they are, another type of similar bean. They are not good for eating. I honestly don't know the chickpeas which we get in a can. Are they cooked or not cooked? I would assume that they're cooked. And so therefore, if you add more, it'll be shakal. But any type of vegetable which you normally eat raw and not cooked, grekas like cucumbers, when they are raw, when they're cooked, you make shakal. Kivushim, but if you have pickles, which are pickled cucumbers, you make a bari priyadama on them. The ikaran, the kvisha kedu, because they are made just as much to be pickled as they are to eat raw. And if something is normally eaten when it's cooked and not when it's raw, like cabbage. I think nowadays people do eat it raw. Maybe they didn't have coleslaw back then. Borekas, beets, shehein, chaim, when they're raw, mevarek shako, you make a shako, v'shoy ma'adama, cook make adama. V'kroy kavush, he has it, sauerkraut, mevarek adama, shuman holech l'kvisha. Oh, that's sauerkraut, sorry, not coleslaw, sauerkraut. He says sauerkraut, they go to, they make adama, because most cabbage goes to sauerkraut. And sauerkraut is very good. Barekas, but beets anyway in below bishul kam you can't eat even if you soak them unless they're cooked. And now you can extrapolate from that from all the other vegetables which are not the ones which are prevalent in our environment. Coleslaw, obviously, make adama. I think, again, as I said, cabbage today is eaten raw, and therefore they would be adama. That anyway, that's the bracha I make. Avokara, gourds, fasilka, which are beets, ukruv, and cabbage, etc. Which are better cooked than raw. When they're raw, mebarak shakol. The tumi, which he says here, is knobel, onions. The karte, which is leek. Today, I don't think anybody make hadama on onions because we don't eat onions raw by themselves. It's very rare. So therefore, it's either going to be tafel, I can make a part of a sandwich, or it's going to be only hadama when it's cooked. And that's the opposite of what it says here, where it says, when they cook, the shahako, the mechashi, nishtan l'gusa, they're considered to have changed for the worse. Again, nishtan ha'teva. Now we have a different approach to these things in practice. I feel bishlam and bathim nishtapchu. Even if you cook them with meat, then they got better. Ain't Hashem v'saratz, that improvement is not on their own account, and mitzad bathim, but only because of the meat in them, with meat which was with them. Ad kan l'shon, see, end the quote from the Shulchan Aruch. Now Arukh HaShulchan says, even though when you have a nut which is fried in honey, where the improvement is also because of the honey, unless the bracha is her eitz. Because the nut is primary for advash, and the honey just comes to fix the nut. But onions and leeks, they're not primary in a cooked dish, and the meat is primary. In fact, when you fry vegetables in oil, ubasar and meat, if the vegetables are primary, then mevarchim bar priyadama. Okay, if you have like a stir fry. Those who say on onions and leek, even when they are raw, you make a shako. They're not so suitable to eat. Ava betzalim. I don't know. Betzalim is onion, as far as I know. No, I'm making a mistake. Tumi is not. Tumi is knobel. It's garlic. Shum. So garlic, he said, till now you make a shahako, if you cook it, and hadama if it's raw. So I don't know today if we make hadama on anything, any form of garlic. Not sure because people don't eat it raw, and it usually is a spice, spice up other food. So I story about now till now. garlic and leek, and now he's talking about onions. And now he says that onions, because he holds onions, shem tovim lachila, are suitable to eat when they are raw. Again, that's what I was talking about before, has changed. Ukruv kavush and sauerkraut, not sure he repeats again, mevarach adama. And so to salted cabbage, it's good when it's salted. We don't know all these things. I'm not sure which meaning he was referring to. Looks like we knew for some of them. Maybe the karti didn't identify as leek. Maybe they didn't know that salted cabbage. But anyway, he says some of these are not known by us. Mishnah Bura, a lot of Mishnah Bura here. The Mishnah Bura says it seems from the Shulchan Aruch that even when they are good when they are raw, since they're better when they're cooked, you make a shackle. Nevertheless, if most people eat them also in the raw, they still should make a bari pradoma. The Shibur writes that Achroim say that specifically soft garlic, that people eat raw. But garlic which has become old, which are very sharp and they're not suitable to eat raw except with bread. If you eat it, you make a shahakol. And so to the onions, that's halacha. If you eat them soft, you make a bar pradama. If they're already older, make a shahakol. The Shai Tshuva says that even if they're soft, you don't make a bar pradama unless you're in a country where the derech is to eat them the soft onions without bread. But in our countries that people never eat garlic and onion raw, even when they are soft without bread, you only make a shahakol, like we just said before. And so to the Mishnah's Adam says the bar make a shahakol. And the Shari Tshuva writes that when they're cooked, whether it's garlic or onion, whether they are soft or whether they are old, you only make a shahakol, even if you cook them with meat. But if you have something like onion poppers, then you would make hadama, because that I think is the ikar way people eat onions nowadays. Again, stir fry. If you made a stir fry with onions and meat, and the onions with acres for some reason, so you make hadama on that. And Mishnah Berurah says also that specifically if you cook the onion with water, then that would be. Oh, yes, exactly what we just said. So you cook onion with water, then it's shahakol even if it's cooked. But something where you make a food from onions, but on their own, you cook them a great deal until they shrivel and are good to eat. Could be a story about like roasted onions or fried onions. So you can make them bore pri hadama. Okay. Hey, ain't chiluk birakos ben chatchan. So make sure we didn't make a missing mishabur here. If we did, we'll have to come back to it later. Ain't chiluk birakos ben chatchan. L'chatiros los ben chatchan l'chatiros kas. Makes no difference by vegetables. You cut them into big pieces or little pieces. Even you chop them up very finely. As long as they look like food, their brother does not change. But it's time to range base, lean and payros. Like we said, by fruit, it's also true by legumes. But vegetables from which you squeeze the liquid, that liquid, the bracha shakol, because that takes them down a notch. But his name was brother Rabbeinu Chil, and Torah does not agree with him. And he brought evidence from liquids, beverages which are squeezed out of fruit. You make a shakol. Truth, you can say it's not comparable. The peros by fruit, the beverage you squeeze from them does not taste like the fruit. But by vegetables, they don't change. Nevertheless, since the two and children are both passed in that way, we should not transgress their words. Because after all, shahakol always works. I should say so. This is Tam Mamash Kamitam Peretz and Brokos Lunchtime, Kom came Shatur Sharok, Postal Kane, Ang Lavrod Livrem, the Bashako Vada Yotza. Vlov. Kosa Baby says to base. Our mind, Shem Bishlu Bem Yurakos, and water which you cook vegetables and Baruch HaBracha, Bracha Atzma, Shem Baruch HaYurakos Atzma. And the water which vegetables cooked, then you make the same bracha on the water they make on vegetables themselves. You don't have the taste of the vegetable. Finally, milk should be some blabas if you cook without meat. Avo in bishlam in basar, we cook with meat. The orchel of shako, we make a shako, akal shono. For Arachlim Zeb Steam Rage base, meaning the Lama base at Sifman base. Yes, we spent a long time on that. Ayin Sham Shevin Shlo Shitas Bizet. 3 opinions. Aladina Ela Baruch Shum Marak Adama King Shabishal Tzarach Mashkin. We go Zo Shitas Rambam. We go to the Rambam that only if you cook the soup for the purpose of the vegetable water, then you make Adama. Shabishal Bulabasa, and that's also only when you cook without meat. Like explained here. The only thing which we have like that is borscht, which we don't generally have today at all. But of course, the vegetable soup you make on the vegetables themselves. It was the longest brackets here. Ayin Mogin Avram. Steve Kadvav Sherek was there. He spends a great deal of time on this. Maybe deal shares and it brings many opinions. Because Shayla having common us, it's difficult to understand what his intent was. Miladina, nevertheless, this is the halacha which sounds inside the Rambam, as according to Rambam, Begam Ramah, B'dach Moshe, the tough as came to the Rambam, when she was Mogen Avram, and Sham. Mashkos of Atasu connection, Vashi Rokas in borscht or b'chometz. When you cook vegetables with borscht or with vinegar, and Barachal Mashkin, Kmoli Rokas Ayin Sham, you shouldn't make a bracha on the liquid, as you do the same brown liquid you make on the vegetables. Vatican, this is certainly true. The havi kabasa, because it's like meat. In other words, that you cook with meat, you shouldn't make that bracha. Fakasam nuzesham. We already wrote this before. Zayin. O kasam b'sif hey. Halefetz shuchai raw turnips v'orechel shahakol. You make a shahakol on it. The Mishnah Berurah says Mogen Avram is not clear about this, and the Torah brings down also gonim who sold that you make on raw turnips for priyadama. And Chai Adam says depends on what the derech of Bnei Adam in the people in that vicinity locale is. I believe today people eat turnips raw. Vimu and so I make adam on a raw turnip. Vimu mavushal back to Arukh HaShulchan. Mavushal kabosh if it is cooked or soaked b'chometz in vinegar or b'chaydal mustard bari priyadama. I got a shano. Va'afilu bishlo in babasa. Even you cooked it with meat with baruch adama kim ikar levis because the main thing is the turnip. But it's not like garlic and leek. The B'Shibasiv Dalit. The Vahavi Ke'eg goes, it's like the nut, Shabasim Reish Base. The Dan Yishino Shakasu, the Ribin Umerin, these are other root vegetables, Merin is carrots. Sholch L'chaim Mevarach Shako, when you may eat them raw, make a shako. If you do it, say now, Ribin Serve Mevarach Adama. But it's not these other root vegetables, I forget what the Ribin are. The way we eat them here, you have to make a dama. Because they're primarily eaten raw and they taste very good as well. Okay, I did a little bit of research with the Google Hadar. Didn't come up with anything great because ribin seems to be a synonym for turnip, just like lefes. So I guess there are different types of turnips. And this turnip is was eaten raw even in Belarus. So that's so it would be Adama. And today we eat type of turnips we have, whether they're lefes or even raw, so Adama, just like carrots. On sesame you make Adama, even you ground them. That's why, because that was that's how you get their benefit from them. One of the ways. I never realized before, it's just so obvious. Tchina comes from tachan. These are ground sesames. So therefore, tchina, the bracha is adama. It's a ground sesame, which I think is the bracha was made on tchina. And hummus also, because that's the primary way of eating them. V'nira kadei rishoina. It says, I'm sorry, B'yesh mishom b'tachna b'var shako. Some say grandma shako. V'nira kadei rishoina. But he says primary law is like the first opinion. V'chein al rechna kasa, whatever that is. I could about looking that up now. I feel riskan even if you chop them up v'arach hadama. Because that's the primary way of eating it. V'yesh tuin v'arach shako. Some people make a mistake to say shako v'tova suits a mistake. Va'afilu k'shemvashim b'mayim. As much as I say yesh toin, also toast. Va'afilu k'shemvashim b'mayim. Even when you cook in water, it's called krupnik or zupa. Krupnik is what's a krupnik soup? Yesh marabei retzka. Gam ke mevarech. Yesh marabei retzka. Gam mevarech b'rei pri adama. I guess let's say it's vegetable soup, and there's a lot of vegetables to make a b'rei adama. A chemaim rov, but if the water is the primary, v'aretzka, whatever this vegetable is, it's the same with all vegetables. Is ma'at is a little, mevarech shalka make a shalka. Ava grupinas shemechamishas haminim. Whatever the grupinas are, they're made up of the 5 types of grain. Kamo gerstna, and these types of grupin are gerstna, haberna, peril, and groifin. Tami brechas and b'rei mazonos, they're all b'rei mazonos. V'izbar b'simen reish ches b'siyat d'shmaya. Maybe by then we'll know what they mean. Simen reish vav. Dine have steak with toast b'birchas aperos. Interruption and mistake in birchas aperos. Aleph. Birchas aperos ilam bar pri adama yotze. Mishnah says even b'mezin. Made adama ha'etz here yotze. Tikri lanaro, because the root of the tree is the ground. Rambam Perikles Pasuk Lo Yetzel. The Rambam says you weren't Yetzel. Tamu Nira. It seems that his opinion is Pisugis Shas, based on the Sugya and the Shah and Brachos. The Tali said Bikurim has to do with Bikurim. Bikurim Kaimalon. By Bikurim we hold him Niktat Tzilon. If the tree is chopped down, ain't a Kor you can't say the Pashas Bikurim. Mishum Neini Yochol Amar Mi Adom Shon Satli Yain Sham, because he can't say that this fruit came from the ground. Alma the Ikar Ilan Lav Ara. So we see that the primary, the root of a tree is not the ground. I don't understand why we see that there. I think it must mean that Ikar means not that it's the root, but that it grows from the ground. And so the fact that it grows from the ground should make it Adama, but we see that the tree, once it's cut off from the ground, you can't bring Bikurim from the same Adama. So we see that it's not considered to be Kar Adama, that it's something which arose from the dirt, has an independent entity. Okay? Mikom Tesis Barush, the Chol Paiskin Paskin Yotza. They all Paskin Yotza, because that Mishnah Brachas. Like the generic, the unattributed Mishnah Brachas. But after Shas Klom Zebes, even though Shas linked Bikurim Brachas, Lav. Dafka. It's not necessarily so. Shamisham Dachi, they ain't not Bikurim, man. Shamish says they're not contingent. Therefore, his opinion is not of the Rambam, is not brought to Shulchan at all. Rambam, before the Yotza. The argued version of the Rambam says you Yotze without Dom Elish. The versions of Rishonim bring down say you were not Yotze. But like Chosav of the Yotza, maybe he changed his mind and he changed from the old version said Yotza, new version says Yotza. But if he did or didn't, that's still the halacha, doesn't matter. Something which vegetable, something which goes ground made by praise not Yotze. A tree is included Adama, and not vice versa. Therefore, any place that there's a doubt or machlokes or this dispute, whether which bracha to make, Yivarech Adama, you make Adama, and you're Yotze Mimanasha, Yotze no matter what. Mishnah Berurah says interestingly, and I don't think they're going to necessarily agree. If you have a suffix because you never learned what the bracha is, don't eat until you learn. Go find out first. Base. You should definitely not make a bracha on things which are Adama. For years and years and years, meaning till extremely recently. I would say within the past 2 years, I made an avocado. Not that I ate it that frequently by itself. Made avocado hadama because I didn't realize avocado grows on trees. So now, it's not. That's definitely b'di'evet, right? It's not l'chatchila. Also, about feeling bunach the one of state for him. You may have 2 things in front of you. Both of them you want to eat. Achas b'choso eats one of those bracha bread. Achas hadama. Others bracha hadama could snow like radish, the zayis and olives. The olives are the 8s and the radish is the adama. Lo yerech al tzon hadam yichayim liftos zayis. You should not make a bracha on the radish. I have in mind to exempt the olives. So first make a heights on the olives, and then on the radish hadama. The birchas eitz called birchas hadama, but the bracha birchas which is more specific, comes for the bracha hadama. Even if you first say the bracha on the radish hadama, im lo kivem mefurash liftoras hazayis, if you didn't have in mind specifically to exempt the olive with that bracha, mevarach hakach ha'etz, you still make ha'etz al hazayis on the olive. Ve'enz amar brachas is not considered to be making increasing the number of brachas for no good reason. Because hadam is not the bracha on an olive. Meal, but you have nevertheless, if after the fact you made a bracha on the radish hadam, even leave towards the zayis, you had in mind to exempt the olive, you're yotze. In that case, you can't make the bracha ha'etz on the olive, that you bracha batala, because since you had in mind that one should part the other, that would be a bracha levatala. The Shmuel says that those who argue it, and they say even had in mind to pater the olive which is in front of him, you're not yotze, he has to go back and make braids on the olive, and the Adam was nevertheless not levatola, right? Obviously, because it's applied to the radish. But the Mishnah concludes that b'diavad you do not have to go back and make the bracha eitz if you had in mind with Adama to be motzi it, because Suffolk brachas laga, and it's best. Best if you want, for I guess Baal Nefesh, somebody you want should not eat immediately afterwards the olive. In other words, Adamo is chal on the radish anyway. So put off eating the olive for some time, and then afterwards, after enough time has elapsed, you can then say hey, aleim. That's why you can make ha'etz on the olive. Okay, back to Arukh HaShulchan OC. Anything you said shachal yotze, even on bread and wine, because change shayron is certainly other things. And so too when we have something which grows on a tree, but we make adama it, could come both about nothing like unripe grapes, or kafrisim, bitzlaf, or the secondary parts of the caper tree, chetzim, etc. She's barbesim rish base, like we said in rish base. And birchalema eitz yotza, but the ever yotza made eitz. The subsapriete, fine analysis, they do grow on trees. And so Yotze, if we're supposed to make shako, you haven't made a bar pri adama, you can be Yotze with this as well if it's something which grows in the ground. Even again, the prime brach will be shako, say like that raw onion. If made adama, then you're still Yotze with the Evid. Mishpur says, of course, the chachila should make on anything it's appropriate bracha.